Yeah.
All right, guys, here we go. We are in week 7, flying high with the birds, Eagles talk. Even though it's week 7, this is only the 5th time we're talking. We took a 2-week hiatus. Thank God. We got a lot of guys that are really fired up here. We got the Armenian Hammer Vahe.
Hi, guys.
We got Jimbo,
A long time. What's going on,
the
boys?
big Valuch, and the big the big W, Mr. Sealy. How are you?
Going on? Still in this nightmare.
Yeah, it is a continued nightmare. I guess you could say I'm also the big V, Armin, and we got a lot to talk about. Eagles lose to Oakland 33-22, another horrendous game for the defense and the offense. Derek Carr was 31 for 33, 91% completion rate, which I have not seen in many years, especially a guy that's thrown over 30 passes, threw for over 300 yards. But I will give him a little bit of DAP. We call it DAP because he's thrown for 300 yards. I think he averages over 300 yards a game. This is an interesting stat by Reuben Frank. And you have to give him sole credit for this. In the Eagles' previous almost a little over 1,200 games, opposing quarterbacks completed 80% of their passes 8 times. But in their last 5 games, that statistic has held true 4 times, which is absolutely unbelievable. In the Raiders' first 2 long drives, they didn't even have to convert a 1 third down conversion, and that included the 96-yard drive they had in the first quarter. So, we're just scratching our heads once again. So, Will, I'll start it off with you. Let's break it down. Break down the game for me.
Well, it took me. I had to rewatch it again because the first time, just to be honest, I fell asleep. It's hard to get through these games. It's week after week. We're seeing the same exact thing. Jalen Hurts is missing wide open throws. The coaching is just dreadful. Just absolutely awful. I can't even believe that these guys are coaching in the NFL after what I've been seeing the last few weeks. And you just said it with that stat from Reuben Frank. We might be looking at one of the worst defenses in Eagles history. I see the players giving up on the field. It looks like they're taking off plays. I think they lost all confidence in this coaching staff. It's just bad. It's really bad, and it's tough to watch, which is a shame because, this city bleeds green, and it's football is everything to the city, and just to have to get up on Sunday, have a beer and watch this absolute mess is just disgraceful. But I'm not seeing any light from this team whatsoever.
There's no effort, nothing.
Nothing. The play calling is so stale too. I want to kind of see if Hurts is coming along and learning, but it's just I don't even think he's getting.
Yeah, you can't even judge him really because of the coaching.
Yeah, I can't judge him. The only thing I can really judge him on is the freaking high school throws that he should make. Just wide open guys, and he's just missing them. And it's I'm getting pissed off that I'm watching these coaches throw this slop at us. And then on top of it, it's Jalen Hurts is slapping me in the face by missing wide open throws. Just give me something.
I'm gonna counter one thing something with Hurts. You have a lot of guys that are making a lot of money on this team that are dogging it. Okay, we can all agree with that. Hurts is not one of the guys that makes a lot of money. He's in his rookie contract as a second round draft pick, but he plays. To me, he plays very, very hard. There's a lot of things that he does that he needs a lot of work on. I really like the kid's character, and I really would like to give him every conceivable chance to make it work. But you're right. He does have a lot of flaws. I just feel like they can be fixed. So
He look, he's got the character. He's got like the intangibles that everybody talks about that you want in like a quarterback and a leader. But he just, like, to me, he just doesn't have the talent to really be a starting, NFL caliber quarterback, which it's a shame, but I mean, I'm ready to just bring out Gardner Minshew. This is like an evaluation year. Like, let's just see what we have in him. I want to see like more of like the team of what maybe we can be. I don't know if I don't even want to give Sirianni any out, basically saying that he's not opening up the offense because it hurts. But I mean, I'm just holding on to like a glimmer of hope of that maybe this isn't all of Sirianni's offense, and maybe it really is just like we're just, what do you call it? We're kind of stuck to Jordan Hurts' limitations.
So you want to see Minshew come in to see if he
I'm ready,
can
Gardner
he can run
Minshew
it.
all the way.
all right, well, you're
I'm
gonna well,
throw
you're
his
gonna
stash.
So if he can't run it, then we know it's Sirianni.
yeah, but wait a minute. You're gonna steal some of Vahe's dash here. Vahe, because I know that you got your own thoughts about this. With Flacco now being traded to the Jets,
Back to the Jets.
Minshew now being number 2 on the roster, is there do you see a possibility for Minshew to get some starting reps down the road?
It's a tough situation, and I tell you why. Because Howie picked Hurst second round last year, and because of that, they had all the problem with Carson Wentz. Now, it's not completely their fault that Carson Wentz basically didn't play well, but they spent the second round pick on this kid, and the game plan was basically try him out. Now, if you bench him and you start a 6th rounder, then it's going to be basically a reflection on Howie and how he goes about picking players. So even though everybody wants Gardner to start, but I don't know whether he can do that right now, because it's going to be a reflection on how he's selection.
Right, but let me just say this. That's the same thing that's happening right now with Dillard and Mulata. Mulata was the 7th round pick. And
Oh, no.
Dillard was a 1st round pick.
That goes back to a big issue with the owner. Jeffrey Lurie has to realize that just because you have money and you own a team doesn't mean that you know anything about football. And you have to give up that basically knowledge or let somebody else do it for you. And Jerry Jones did that with his son. And, his son seems to be a smart guy. He's being able to pick right players. But the Jeffrey Lurie with Howie, these two guys, they have no idea what they're doing. They just got the money and the team. But other than that, they have no clue. Just because they got lucky with a Super Bowl doesn't mean anything. I mean, imagine there's 55 Super Bowls. They won one with a quarterback. It wasn't even their starting quarterback. It was just their backup quarterback. It just was a one-time wonder, perfect game, and that's it. It doesn't make you a genius. It makes you lucky. If it was you Carson Wentz, then it says, okay, it was planned. It was part of the process. But there was no process. It was just they got lucky with Foles, and then that was it. And then Foles, I don't know. Right now is the 3rd string quarterback or what? But the whole thing happened is luck. He doesn't realize that basically it was luck. He thinks that it was his genius who got that team together, and they can do it all over again. But in reality, they're not being able to do it again.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you on that perspective.
What
Real
really
quick,
pisses me off, they always find a 6th rounder. They say we found a gem. There's this guy, Tyrese Jackson or Tyree Jackson.
Tyree Jackson, who they got.
He's supposed to be a quarterback. He's 6'8". Apparently, he's supposed to be a gem, or it could be a gem. He's like a 6th rounder. Seriously, if you do your job right and pick the right players at the 1st round, 2nd round, then you don't need a 6th round gem to come and bail you out.
And they also have to eat crow at times when they admit they made a mistake, and maybe there's a free agent out there, an undrafted free agent that's out there that's better than the 1st round pick that they got. They're just going to have to accept it. But that's the way we all feel. Let's just go to the defense real quick. I want to start out with Jimmy here. Since Carr had such a good day and just literally picked the defense apart. Jimmy, what the hell is wrong with the pass rush?
Defense is unwatchable, right? I mean, their scheme, I don't even know what their scheme is. The play calling is a joke. Nobody is in position to make a play. It seems like every quarterback we face, we make them look like a Hall of Famer. I mean, granted, we did play Brady and Mahomes, but Matt Ryan had a decent day against us. Carr did. The only one who didn't is Darnold, and he stinks. You know, the Brandon Graham injury was devastating, but nobody stepped up. Not one person stepped up to fill that role.
How much better do you think this defensive line would have been with their pass rush if Brandon Graham was healthy?
I mean, just the heart and the character that he brings. He comes to play every single day. I don't know if it would have made it that much better, but it would have brought a little fire to the defense, that's for sure.
Well, it's obvious.
They got no one out there to go out there to make a play or, you know, get everyone fired up. They don't have a leader.
No, I agree. But they got guys that are just that are not playing hard on that defensive line. And the guys.
I think that's a reflection of the coach. I don't think they have that. I think they tuned the coach out, and look what's coming out right now. Could you imagine what's going to happen? The finger pointing they lost to Detroit.
Yeah, but you're making a lot of money to play football. So if you don't agree with the particular scheme that the defensive coordinator has, you still have to do whatever you have to do. You can't make excuses. Right. Cox is making excuses, and I watch him, and he's lazy, and to me, he's out of shape. At least Barnett, I will say, tries a little bit, but he's not worth $10 million a year. He will not be with this team.
He's not here next year, right?
No,
exactly.
No.
And it all goes back. It all goes back to training camp, where what kind of training camp do they really have? I mean, supposedly when they practiced with the Patriots those 3 days, the Patriots were saying like the Eagles had no condition. The Patriots used to practicing for a couple hours a day, and the Eagles were dogged after an hour, they said.
Nobody thought this was a problem, that we were going to practice for an hour and a half a day.
Yeah.
We were going to have ping pong tournaments as team building, and we're wearing T-shirts of like every Philly sports player and just a load of crap. Like, I want you guys to practice and get better, and obviously we're seeing it every day, and we're the ones that have to suffer through all these games.
Yeah, I mean, Sirianni definitely needs a PR coach, because obviously he doesn't get it. Pandering to the Philadelphia fan base is not really the way to go. People are here too smart for that. Wearing a Dallas Suck T-shirt and then get your ass kicked, it's not the way to go. I mean, you're just making fun of yourself. So you're a head coach. I mean, I can see the fans wearing Dallas Suck T-shirt, but not the head coach, because the thing that he's above that, and he doesn't come across as being like a really mature guy. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes what they do is that they hire people and they elevate them to a position and they hope for the best. But it seems that Gannon and Sirianni, they got elevated to a position that they're really not, meant to be. And they're failing miserably, coaching wise, personnel wise, communication wise, everything. I mean, there's nothing going for Sirianni.
They need a veteran coach on that staff.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's what they're really missing.
If we lose to Detroit this week, Armin's going to see me coming into work with this. I'm ready to bring it out. I'm going to wear it every single.
I think you should wear it tomorrow. Keep it on the rest of the podcast.
I have it ready.
Well, listen, real quick. Let's stay with Sirianni for a second, Will. Obviously, in the last couple of days, with both Sirianni now and Cox throwing Gannon under the bus, do you think this is really a good thing and a healthy thing for this football team?
No, it obviously isn't. You want to like a good team, like let's say like the New England Patriots, who have like a good organization. This stuff wouldn't come out. Like, this should never come out. This should always be taken care of internally. I mean, for us, yeah, this is great because now we can see exactly what's going on. And it's, clearly it seems like the players have, the coaches have lost the players in the locker room. Like it's obvious, and you can see it on the field, and that's why we look like we're getting beat down at the end of games.
And also, who hired Gannon? Is it the Laurie, or it was based on Sirianni's recommendation? I mean, he did the wrong thing, because the thing is that, let's say he brought him on board, and then the thing is, it tells me you don't know what you're doing. You got hired a guy, and then you throw him under the bus after the 7th game. So obviously you don't know what you're doing. If it was Jeffrey Lurie who brought him in and he's throwing him under the bus, now the owners get offended, basically trying to say that the owner doesn't know what he's doing. So, but what he did, basically, it was like no win for him. Probably he was frustrated and he wanted just to blame somebody, but it was uncalled for, and it didn't really help him at all, because Jeffrey, in the eyes of Jeffrey Lurie, the guy says, well, this guy's not taking responsibility for anything.
Yeah,
And
he doesn't need to. We don't need to hear anything out of players' mouths about the coaches, because we can see it ourselves. We know what's going on. Like, we're not retarded. Like, Sirianni is over his head. Gannon is completely over his head. He has no scheme. We're going into what, week 8 now, and he has zero scheme, zero stunts. We're always playing too high safety because he's afraid to get beat over deep. You can't be an NFL coordinator and be afraid to get beat. You got to be able to go out there and compete, and we're just basically playing scared. You're not going to win any games playing scared.
Well, funny thing was, when Gannon talked today, he did say that he agreed with everything that was said. I guess there was nothing else he could say. And his exact wording was that we have to challenge a little bit more, and they're going to do more pre-snap disguise and post-snap disguises and move things up more, like they did in the Atlanta game. They did a lot of pre-snap disguises in that Atlanta game and virtually have done nothing since. So I don't know. His defense really has got to change in some regards, because you can't play a cover 2 with guys playing 35 yards back and expect to be able to cover the middle of the field going all the way down to the goal line.
Or you don't have the linebackers to tackle, or the linebackers to tackle.
Well, that's a big thing too, but the linebackers are playing really far back too. And speaking of the linebackers, I was watching everything, no matter what combination they were putting in there. And this leads me to think that personnel really is a problem too. Their linebacking situation is horrible. I mean, I really thought that Davion Taylor would be the shining light that comes in and saves this linebacking core because of his speed and quickness. He played a big part of that game last week, and he was lost. He was constantly getting pushed around. He is a Singleton/3. He gets pushed around more than Singleton does, and he's out of position quite a bit. Now, he's a rookie, so I don't know how he's going to play, next year. But, talk is cheap now. And now they're saying these things, that things are going to change, and we got to hope for the best here. So
I personally believe, besides football, is that you as a manager or an owner or whatever, you have to put the players in a position for them to succeed. You have to understand their skill sets, their strengths, and their weaknesses, and try to put them in a situation where they're going to maximize their pluses and try to minimize their minuses. And I don't see anything being done, whether on the offensive side or the defensive side, to maximize their potential. I mean, we don't know what Hurst is. We see his deficiencies, but obviously the guy came all the way from college to the pros. So he must have some strengths. But Sirianni is not being able to put him in a position for him to succeed. Maybe they don't have the personnel, but besides that, I don't see anything.
There's an old saying that they used for many years, that true talent beats scheme every single time. And you got some of these really well-coached, smaller college teams that are going up against the big boys like Alabama or Georgia, and they're getting killed. But they're very well coached. But talent means so much. So I don't know. It's going to get to a point, I think, at the end of the year where everybody to a fault in this city that's an Eagles fan is going to do a percentage, a prediction on how much of this is the coaching staff's fault and how much of this is the personnel's fault. So, and we all know that all that's going to come through to the ownership in the long run. But Vahe, let me just bring this up to you. Let's talk about Sirianni again. Just give me your thoughts real quick on his immediate post-game press conference on Sunday.
He need coaching. I don't understand what he says. And I was saying earlier, basically, is that in this day and age, you need public speaking classes. You need how to communicate effectively. It's a job. It's a job on itself. And obviously, some people are born to be natural communicators. Some people, they need to work on it. This guy, obviously, he's not a very effective communicator, and he's not even working on it. Like, I can read you what he said. This is after the game. I definitely feel like when you have a slow start with 2 and 5, people are going to look to me of what my leadership is, and they're going to look at me and to see what my direction is. We actually talked about that with the team even before adversity hit. Even in preseason, like, hey, when adversity hits, here is what we're going to double down on. What is he talking about? What is he saying?
It's a bunch of gibberish. It's
I mean,
him and Gannon. Every time they talk, it's just a bunch of gibberish. Like, if I got to hear Gannon one more time tell me that players are playing good, they might not show up on the stat sheets, but they're playing good because they're lining up correctly or their eyes are in the right.
He sees improvement.
I don't even know what that means.
It's terrible.
I need
dog
you to
mentality.
produce.
Double down on dog mentality. What is a dog mentality to begin with? I'm really lost on that part.
Like
Well,
a
I think-
chihuahua mentality.
Yeah, I think they got Ryan Kerrigan because of his eyes. So, I mean,
I've never heard of anything like that. Your eyes are in the right direction.
well,
Make
it's
a-
not.
Make a play.
Well, yeah, you're right. And it's not just that. I think it's things that I think some of the things that he's thinking are just totally wrong too. I mean, I'm still just really confused with the fact that he took that penalty in on the first drive of the Raiders, even though it ended up being an interception for the Eagles. But I mean, how do you?
Penalty, right?
It's 4th and 3, and they have a choice of declining the penalty, keeping his 4th and 3, or making it 3rd and 15.
Right.
3rd and 15. But the punting team was already on the field. So I don't know what he's thinking. That just, number one, that blew me away. And obviously the other thing, and I know you're all going to agree with me, when they asked him about the defense that's being run, and he said, well, I'm not concerned. I don't really watch that. I'm more concerned about, I'm the offensive coordinator. We're saying he's the offensive coordinator, and he's not the offensive coordinator because Sean Steichen's the offensive coordinator, and he's more concerned about the offense. So, in other words, if they were to lose this game 60-55, what is he going to say? Well, at least I did my job. You're the head coach, and you need to, you got to be responsible for the offense.
Sometimes, Armand, the thing is that sometimes adversity brings the real character of a person because it's not rehearsed, and you can see what kind of a person he is. And right now he's scared, he's embarrassed, and he's instead of taking responsibility for it, he's just throwing somebody under the bus and happens to be his defensive coordinator. And that just tells you what kind of a person he is. Because it's not how you react when everything's going well, because then you're in control of your emotions, you're in control of your behavior. But when things are not going well, then how you react, how you behave, tells me what kind of person you are. It just tells you that he doesn't take responsibility for anything. He just throws somebody else under the bus. And that's not a good personality trait to have as a head coach.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. 100%. We've talked a lot about Sirianni in this podcast and Gannon, which I knew we were going to do. So let's just switch it up real quick and let's go to the running back situation. Miles Sanders is out with an ankle sprain, and it looks like it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks. Jimmy, where do you see the running back situation going from here?
They got to bring someone off the practice squad, right? Is it going to be Howard, or is it going to be what is it? Jason Huntley?
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 It's got to be Howard. It has to be.
Well,
I mean, who else can it be, Jimmy?
You would think it's going to be Howard. He carried them in 2019. Was it 20? I think it was 2019 when they leaned on him. He was really good then, but it's completely. Hopefully it's Howard, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference maker, to be honest. You know, Gainwell and Scott are going to get the majority of the reps. There's just no rhythm to the team. There's no nothing to it.
I think you're gonna see a whole lot of jet screens again to Rager and Watkins, and we're gonna come up with about 5 runs a game because Sanders isn't there, and I think Sirianni's just gonna do what he thinks is right.
And Sanders is averaging like 6 yards a carry, isn't it? Something like that, like 6.4 yards or so.
You'd think we give him more.
Yeah.
I do like Gainwell though. I do. I am a fan of him, but he's a good complimentary. He's a good complimentary back.
Yeah,
But
you can
yeah.
see when he's the main back though, like he's not gonna run between the tackles. You gotta get him out in space and stuff, which was great when they had Sanders. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be even better, I think, if Howard's going to have to be the guy that they're going to sign.
You would hope, right?
They have to, because they need a guy that's strong and runs up the middle. You know, I really like Boston Scott. I think he ran really hard when he came in there, but man, is he small.
Yeah, I saw that. I was thinking that Sunday.
There's no way that they can keep him in. There's no way he's going to be able to block at defensive end on the edge. There's no way. And I think that's a big reason why they don't have him in there a lot of times. And Howard is a very good blocker. And here's a big thing. He's only 26 years old. He's a young guy, and he's healthy and he's fresh. He had a really good camp. So I can't understand how it could be anybody else but him.
And when he was with Chicago, he had close to 1,000 yards a couple of years.
Yeah, he was in the Pro Bowl, I think, both years, I think.
That's what I don't understand. He had a good camp. I don't understand why they cut him and they put him on the practice squad.
Probably it's not good enough that other else would pick him up too. So I know, probably in 2019 he was good, but I don't know whether he still got it.
He just looks slower. He looks slower, but he'd still be useful in our offense. I mean, with the situation that we're in. But I don't like. I feel like if they were going to bring him up, they would have did it already. I mean, we're going to be Wednesday tomorrow. I mean, it's kind of getting a little late to kind of bring him up. They should have done it already.
No, I think they're going to bring him up tomorrow, and they're probably doing that. I would think that they're going to do that. And they've been working with him in practice to be a big part of their offense, and they don't want Detroit to know this until they call him up. That's just a gut feeling.
That goes back to the philosophy too. Like in the beginning, when you have Jalen Hurst, who's practically a rookie, right? Instead of putting everything on him, why don't you get it like a stud running back so that basically you can have the run game going and then get the pressure off Hurst. Right now, it's all on Hurst. Whether he runs, he throws, whatever he does, it's him or nothing. And it's not really fair. I mean, I'm not saying that he's talented to be an NFL quarterback, but oh my God, I mean, you spend so much effort and money on this kid, at least try to help him to succeed. Just giving him the ball and saying, go make things happen. It's not really fair to the kid either.
I agree.
I mean, you set him up for failure and they say, oh, he failed. Well, obviously you set him up for failure. What are you expecting? He's not a Superman.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I just wanted to just go over this real quick before we go into this coming week's game. And this is, I guess, a good sign, you could say, but I don't know if it's something that's going to last because, we're doubting a lot of these draft picks. But if you take the last 2 drafts, they got probably 7 or 8 solid starters on this team. The 21 draft, the rookies, Devontae Smith, Dickerson, Milton Williams, and Kenny Gainwell, they're getting a lot of playing time. I think they're all good picks and will be good. I think Milton Williams needs to get stronger and will be a very good interior lineman down the road. But this is 2020's players. Rieger, Hurts, Davion Taylor, Kayvon Wallace, Jack Driscoll, Sean Bradley, Quez Watkins, who are all on the roster and all have the potential to be very good. I think that the jury is still out on a lot of these players. I don't know if the problem is the fact that they're young and or if coaching is part of the problem. I say, and I know some of you or all of you are going to disagree with me, with a lot of these younger guys and the coaching staff, I am completely willing to give them another year, especially the coaching staff. I don't know what you guys think.
I can't sit through another year with this coaching staff. I'm done. I've seen everything I need to see. I've heard everything I need to hear. I'm ready to move on.
I think the next time, I think if they, what do they have, 10 games left?
Yeah.
If they don't show any signs of improvement, I think the fans are going to pretty much make the decision. You can't bring this guy back.
Well, let me ask you something.
You saw how the city went, not to change sports, but you saw the city basically got Kapler fired, for the Phillies. I think that it could be the same thing here.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you see some kind of improvement over these final 10 games.
Maybe Sirianni will be a good head coach one day. It's just not now. Like, he's not ready. He needs a few more years learning under somebody with a lot of experience. I don't think he's ready to have an entire team behind him.
Right. And that falls, like we were saying the other day, that falls on the owner. Like the owner, the GM, they put them in the spot to basically fail.
Yeah.
Like that falls
Yeah.
on.
I was asking Armand, remember they interviewed Josh McDaniel before Sirianni, right? And everybody thought, oh, they're going to hire him to be the head coach. And then he just disappeared. What happened? How come nobody's talking about that?
He realized what Howie Roseman and Laurie are like. He didn't want to be a yes man, in my opinion. Because you're right, they supposedly had him hired. Weren't there reports like
Yes.
they were close to a deal?
Yeah.
I think they gave him the offer and he thought about it and he turned it down.
He probably
you're right. They made him the offer, right? And probably he said, maybe I cannot work with Howie.
Yeah.
That's probably exactly what it was. I would think that it had nothing to do with money because I'm sure as a head coach, you're going to get the money. It'd be a lot more than he's making as a coordinator. So it obviously has something to do with, having to be a yes man. I do agree. So, but anyway, let's move on to next week's game with Detroit. The Eagles are at Detroit next week. The Lions are 0-7, but they could have easily won 3 of those games. They've had a lot of tough luck. Dan Campbell is a true players coach as their head coach, and they play really hard for him. And you always think to yourself, well, what's going to be the game that's going to make them break out and just kick some ass? It could be this Sunday. It's hard to say, but you think about this. You put Dan Campbell, who's a players coach. You got the players that are pissed off that they're 0-7 and could easily be 3-4. They got Deuce Staley as an assistant coach over there who's really fired up about, not, getting an offer from the Eagles. And they got a pissed off quarterback that was traded from the Rams the last minute without being told, and a running back that's from Philadelphia that would have loved DeAndre Swift, that would have loved to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know. We'll start with you, Jimmy. How do you think this game could pan out?
I think the Lions are going to get their first win because of all the reasons you said. I was thinking about it. I just don't like the way this team's going. The Lions play with heart. They're playing for their coach. I mean, they gave the Rams Lions game was a really good game on Sunday. I mean, the Lions were up 10-0, I think, at one point.
Yeah, they had a chance to come back and win the game at the end.
Right.
Got through an interception.
I just think that the Lions are a fired up team right now. They're 0-7. They're looking at it like they got a team like the Eagles coming in, and I like Detroit in that game.
I'm just curious, Vahe. Could you just see DeAndre Swift, guy from St. Joe's Prep, having a big game? I could see him really being fired up for this.
Absolutely. And Jared Goff too. I mean, he's accurate. He's not really smart, but he's accurate.
I'm sure Deuce Staley's going to have Swift hyped up for this game.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Oh, no doubt about it.
He's going
Oh,
to get them all fired up. That's the reason why. You'll see that at the end of the game. The cameras will be right on him.
yeah, but I know that Swift has been dealing with a groin issue, and he's had that that's part of the reason why he wasn't a first round draft choice, because he had that issue in high school and at Georgia when he played at Georgia, and he still has that problem. And he's always like, there's so many times on the injury report where he comes up as questionable, but he basically ends up playing the majority of the time. But he is a really, really tough running back, and he could cause a lot of problems for this Eagles defense. So before we go into our predictions, as of right now, Jimmy has 2 wins. Will has 1 win. Now, we didn't do anything the last 2 weeks, but we're going to go into what our predictions were for the Carolina game to see who ended up with that win. Will had Carolina 28-24. Jimmy had Carolina 27-21. Vahe had Carolina winning 30-21. And I had Carolina losing 21-18. Or I'm sorry, 24-21. The final was 21-18. You guys have any idea who may have won this week?
Profit.
Yeah.
The old man has got one in the bag right now.
There you go.
Vahe still has goose eggs across the board, and he needs to come through
Yes.
this week. So let's end this with some predictions. Let's start with me, since I won. I'm going to go with Detroit. 24-17. Jimmy.
I like the Lions 30-24.
Will.
I like the Lions 28-19.
All right, you're going to buck the system here, Vahe?
I have to win something with the Eagles. 24-21.
24-21. Okay. All right. Again, we only got one guy picking the Eagles again, and it's one of the old guys.
Just
The
because I
young
wanna get a
guys are
win.
just, the youngsters just do not have any faith in this ball club or this coaching staff.
I think it'll be the Jets or the Giants.
I just see the writing on the wall. Like the
Yeah.
Lions are really playing for their coach. I
Yeah.
think they really like their coach. And you just see it week after week now with the Eagles. More and more players are turning their heads on the coaches, and it's getting uglier and uglier. I see the writing on the wall. One team wants to play, the other team doesn't.
Did you ever hear the term trap game? But that's after you win a game that you should have lost and you came back. This would be a true trap game for the Eagles if they beat Oakland last week.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So, all right, with that, we'll end it for another session of podcast with Flying with the Birds, Eagles Talk. Thanks, and we'll see you again next week.
Go Eagles.
All right, yeah. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Talk to you.
See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah.